Most people believe success is about talent. Some believe it is about motivation. Others think it is about confidence. But the truth is far simpler and far harder. Success is about control. Not controlling the world. Not controlling other people. But controlling yourself. Your thoughts. Your reactions. Your emotions. Your impulses. In moments of pressure, who are you? In chaos, do you break or become sharper? When emotions rise, do you react or do you respond? This audiobook is not about hype. It is not about feeling powerful for a few hours. It is about training your mind. Because before you win in the world, you must win within yourself. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The inner game is everything. Before you ever win in the world, you must win in your own mind. This is where most people fail, not because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity, but because they never learn to manage the battlefield within. The outer world is loud. It is competitive. It is unpredictable. But the inner world, that is where direction is decided. Every action you take begins as a thought. Every habit begins as a decision. Every decision begins as a mental interpretation. If your mind is weak, your life becomes chaotic. If your mind is trained, your life becomes intentional. This is the inner game. And whether you acknowledge it or not, you are playing it every single day. The invisible war. Most people think their struggles are external. They say, "I don't have enough time. I don't have enough resources. People don't support me. The market is difficult." But if you look closely, the real battle is internal. It is the war between discipline and distraction, between logic and emotion, between long-term growth and short-term comfort. Two voices live inside your mind. The first voice wants comfort. It wants ease. It wants validation. It wants to avoid discomfort at all costs. The second voice wants growth. It demands discipline. It understands sacrifice. It sees long-term consequences. Whichever voice you feed becomes your identity. If you feed comfort, you become reactive. If you feed discipline, you become powerful. The outer world only reflects which voice you have been listening to. Why talent is overrated. There are talented people who fail. There are intelligent people who never execute. There are confident people who collapse under pressure. Why? Because talent without control is unstable. Confidence without discipline is fragile. Intelligence without emotional regulation is dangerous. The inner game determines whether your strengths work for you or against you. Imagine two individuals with equal skill. One panics under criticism. One remains calm and evaluates feedback logically. One quits when progress is slow. One continues consistently regardless of feelings. Over time, the difference becomes enormous. Not because one was more gifted, but because one mastered the inner game. The person who controls their mind controls their trajectory. Your mind creates your reality. This does not mean you magically control circumstances. It means you control interpretation. And interpretation shapes action. Two people can face the same problem. One sees it as proof they are incapable. The other sees it as training. One experiences rejection and concludes, "I am not good enough." The other concludes, "I need to improve." The event is identical. The interpretation is different. The outcome becomes opposite. Your mind is not just processing reality. It is constructing it. If you believe pressure is dangerous, you will shrink from it. If you believe pressure builds strength, you will step into it. This is why the inner game is everything. Because your perception decides your response. And your response decides your results. Emotional reactivity, the silent destroyer. Most people are not thinking, they are reacting. Something happens. An emotion rises. They act immediately. Anger, fear, ego, insecurity. And then they wonder why their life feels unstable. Emotional reactivity is a lack of training. It is the mind operating on impulse instead of intention. The trained mind does something different. It pauses. In that pause lies power. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space, you choose who you are. If you remove the pause, emotion takes control. If you strengthen the pause, discipline takes control. The inner game is about expanding that space. It is about creating distance between what you feel and what you choose to do. That distance is maturity. That distance is strength. The myth of motivation. Many people rely on motivation to act. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until they feel inspired. They wait until confidence appears. But feelings are unreliable. Motivation is emotional energy. And emotional energy fluctuates. If your success depends on how you feel, you will always be inconsistent. The inner game replaces motivation with structure. Instead of asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" you ask, "Is this aligned with my standards?" Standards create stability. Feelings create fluctuation. When you operate from standards, you remove negotiation. You do not debate with yourself. You execute. And this is where true control begins. Identity, the core of the inner game. At the center of your mental structure is identity. How you see yourself determines how you behave. If you see yourself as undisciplined, you will act accordingly. If you see yourself as calm under pressure, you will rise to that standard. Identity shapes behavior more than goals ever will. You can set ambitious goals. But if your identity does not match them, you will sabotage yourself. For example, if you identify as someone who quits when things get hard, your mind will unconsciously search for reasons to stop. If you identify as someone who finishes what they start, your mind will search for solutions instead. The inner game is about consciously shaping identity, not based on past failures, but based on chosen standards. You do not become disciplined by accident. You become disciplined by repeatedly acting in alignment with a disciplined identity. Every action casts a vote for who you are becoming. Self-awareness, the foundation. You cannot control what you do not observe. Most people move through life unconsciously. They do not question their thoughts. They do not analyze their reactions. They do not challenge their impulses. They simply follow them. Self-awareness is the first layer of mental mastery. Notice. When do you become defensive? When do you procrastinate? When do you seek distraction? When does ego take over? These patterns are not random. They are conditioned responses. Once you see them, you can interrupt them. Without awareness, you are a prisoner of habit. With awareness, you become the architect. Pressure reveals your training. Anyone can appear confident when everything is easy. True mental strength appears under pressure. Deadlines, criticism, competition, uncertainty. Pressure does not create weakness. It exposes it. If your mind is undisciplined, pressure magnifies fear. If your mind is trained, pressure sharpens focus. Think of pressure as resistance in the gym. Without resistance, there is no growth. The inner game reframes stress. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this training me to become?" This shift transforms adversity into advantage. And that is the difference between those who collapse and those who evolve. Responsibility is power. The moment you blame external factors, you surrender control. Blame feels comfortable, but it removes authority. When you take responsibility, even for things not entirely your fault, you reclaim power. Responsibility means, my reaction is my choice. My standards are my choice. My discipline is my responsibility. This does not mean life is always fair. It means your response is always yours. And that is freedom. The inner game thrives on responsibility, because control begins where excuses end. The compound effect of mental discipline. Small mental decisions compound over time. One disciplined choice seems insignificant. One calm response seems minor. One controlled reaction feels small. But repeated daily, these choices reshape identity. They reshape habits. Chapter 2. Calm is a competitive advantage. In a world addicted to urgency, calm has become rare. And what is rare becomes powerful. Most people move fast, but they do not think clearly. They speak quickly, but they do not measure their words. They react instantly, but they regret later. Speed without control creates mistakes. Calm creates precision. And precision wins. The illusion of urgency. Modern life trains the mind to rush. Notifications demand attention. Deadlines create pressure. Competition creates anxiety. Your nervous system is constantly activated. But here is the truth. Most urgency is psychological, not real. Your brain is wired to detect threats. It cannot easily distinguish between a life-threatening danger and an uncomfortable email. So it reacts the same way. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes shallow. Thoughts speed up. Judgment narrows. In this state, you are not strategic. You are reactive. And reactive people lose control. The calm individual disrupts this pattern. They slow their breathing. They stabilize their posture. They delay their response. This is not weakness. This is dominance over biology. Calm is emotional authority. When you remain calm under pressure, you communicate something powerful. I am not controlled by circumstances. People instinctively trust the individual who does not panic. In meetings, in crises, in negotiations, the calm presence becomes the anchor. Imagine two leaders facing a setback. One raises their voice, blames others, and expresses frustration. The other listens, processes information, and speaks with clarity. Who feels stronger? Who appears competent? Who inspires confidence? Calmness signals internal order. And internal order projects external authority. You do not need to intimidate people to command respect. Composure does that naturally. The science of a calm mind. When you panic, your brain shifts into survival mode. The emotional center overrides logical reasoning. You focus on immediate relief instead of long-term outcomes. This is why angry words are spoken. Impulsive decisions are made. Opportunities are ruined. But when you stay calm, the logical part of your mind remains active. You think in possibilities instead of threats. You analyze instead of assume. You choose instead of react. Calm expands cognitive capacity. Stress narrows it. This is why calm is not passive. It is performance-enhancing. Athletes understand this. Elite performers understand this. High-level negotiators understand this. Under pressure, the winner is not the most emotional. It is the most controlled. Calm under criticism. Criticism tests emotional maturity. When someone challenges you, your ego feels attacked. The immediate urge is defense. To justify. To argue. To counterattack. But calm individuals do something different. They listen. They separate tone from content. They extract useful information. They discard emotional noise. Even if the criticism is unfair, reacting emotionally weakens position. Calm creates leverage. Instead of saying, "That's wrong," you ask, "What can I learn here?" Instead of escalating tension, you reduce it. And that reduction shifts power in your favor. Emotional people fight to protect pride. Calm people protect progress. Decision-making in chaos. Chaos is inevitable. Markets shift. Plans fail. Unexpected problems arise. In chaos, untrained minds amplify fear. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They spread negativity. They rush into decisions just to feel relief. But rushed decisions often create deeper problems. The calm mind understands something critical. You do not have to decide immediately. You can pause. You can gather information. You can create clarity. That pause is strategic. It prevents damage. Calm decision-making is not about delaying action. It is about ensuring action is intelligent. Under pressure, your value increases if your stability increases. While others lose control, you gain influence. Calm is energy efficiency. Emotional volatility consumes energy. Anger drains focus. Anxiety drains clarity. Overthinking drains stamina. If you allow every minor event to disturb you, your mental energy will be exhausted before the day ends. Calm preserves resources. It allows you to focus only on what matters. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every problem deserves panic. Not every inconvenience deserves attention. The calm mind prioritizes. It asks, is this worth my energy? Will this matter long term? Is reacting helping? Often, the strongest move is restraint. Energy saved is power preserved. Training calmness daily. Calm is not a personality trait. It is a trained skill. You build it intentionally. Start with breath. When pressure rises, slow your breathing deliberately. Long inhale. Long exhale. This signals safety to your nervous system. Next, control your body language. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Lower your voice. Maintain steady eye contact. Your body influences your mind. If you move frantically, you think frantically. If you move deliberately, you think deliberately. Then train your thoughts. Replace catastrophic thinking with controlled questioning. What is actually happening? What is within my control? What is the smartest next move? Calm begins with awareness. Then repetition. Calm does not mean passive. Some confuse calmness with softness. That is a mistake. Calm does not mean you tolerate disrespect. It does not mean you avoid confrontation. It does not mean you suppress standards. It means you enforce standards without losing control. You can say no calmly. You can correct someone calmly. You can walk away calmly. Calmness strengthens boundaries. Because when emotion is absent, your message becomes sharper. Anger weakens arguments. Control strengthens them. Long-term advantage. Over weeks, months, and years, calm compounds. People begin to see you as stable, reliable, mature. Opportunities flow toward stability. Leaders are chosen not only for intelligence, but for composure. If two individuals have equal skill, the calmer one advances. Because high responsibility requires emotional regulation. The world is full of talented people who cannot manage themselves. Few can manage their state consistently. Become one of the few. Final reflection. When others panic, breathe. When others argue, listen. When others rush, think. When others react, respond. Calm is not just peace. It is strategy. It is leverage. It is a silent competitive advantage that most people ignore. Master your internal state. Because in the moments that matter most, the person who stays steady wins. Chapter 3. Discipline over feelings. Feelings are powerful, but they are unreliable leaders. They change with sleep. They change with weather. They change with opinions. They change with comfort. If you build your life on feelings, your life will constantly shift. One day you feel confident. The next day you feel doubt. One morning you feel motivated. By evening you feel tired. If your actions follow your emotions, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline is different. Discipline does not ask how you feel. Discipline asks what must be done. And that difference changes everything. The dangerous comfort of emotion. Feelings are seductive because they justify comfort. I don't feel like waking up early. I don't feel inspired today. I'm not in the mood. I'll start tomorrow. Emotion always negotiates. It whispers reasonable excuses. And because the excuses feel valid, you accept them. But every time you choose comfort over commitment, You weaken your authority over yourself. Understand this clearly. Every small act of emotional surrender trains your mind to resist effort next time. Your brain learns patterns. If you consistently give in to discomfort, your tolerance for discomfort shrinks. If you consistently push through discomfort, your tolerance expands. This is mental conditioning. Discipline is identity, not action. Many people misunderstand discipline. They think it is forcing yourself occasionally. No. Discipline is identity-based. It is not something you try when convenient. It is who you are regardless of convenience. When discipline becomes identity, there is no internal debate. You do not argue with yourself about whether to train, work, focus, or execute. You simply do it, because it aligns with who you believe you are. The disciplined person does not wake up and ask, "Do I feel like showing up?" They say, "This is what I do." And that removes emotional negotiation. The war between short-term and long-term. At its core, discipline is choosing long-term gain over short-term relief. Your mind constantly evaluates immediate comfort versus future reward. Scrolling feels good now. Working feels productive later. Sleeping longer feels good now. Waking early builds strength later. Quitting feels relieving now. Continuing builds resilience later. Most people choose now. The disciplined choose later. And over years, that difference becomes massive. Life does not reward intensity once. It rewards alignment daily. Why feelings are unstable. Feelings are reactions to perception. If you interpret something as difficult, you feel resistance. If you interpret something as threatening, you feel fear. If you interpret something as boring, you feel avoidance. But perception can be inaccurate. You may feel unmotivated not because the task is impossible, but because it requires effort. You may feel fear not because failure is certain, but because uncertainty exists. Feelings are signals. They are not commands. Untrained minds treat feelings as instructions. Trained minds treat them as information. Instead of saying, "I feel tired, so I stop," you say, "I feel tired." Noted. Continue. That is authority. Discipline builds self-trust. Every time you promise yourself something and fail to follow through, you weaken trust in yourself. Self-trust is built through kept commitments. When you say you will wake at 5 a.m. and you do it, trust grows. When you say you will finish a task and you complete it, trust grows. When you say you will stay calm and you remain composed, trust grows. Discipline is not just about productivity. It is about self-respect. When you cannot trust your own word, confidence becomes artificial. True confidence comes from evidence. Evidence that you act regardless of mood. Emotional resistance is normal. Let us be clear. Even disciplined people feel resistance. They feel boredom. They feel fatigue. They feel doubt. The difference is not absence of emotion. It is refusal to surrender to it. They expect resistance. They understand that growth feels uncomfortable. Instead of asking, "Why is this hard?" they ask, "Why would this be easy?" This mindset eliminates surprise. When discomfort appears, it is not shocking. It is part of the process. And what you expect, you handle better. Building daily mental toughness. Discipline grows through repetition. Start small. Complete tasks fully, even when no one is watching. Maintain posture when tired. Control tone when irritated. Finish what you start. These actions may seem minor, but they are mental reps. Just as muscles grow through resistance, discipline grows through friction. Choose minor discomforts intentionally. Cold showers. Structured routines. Focused work sessions without distraction. You are teaching your mind. I act based on decision, not emotion. Over time, your threshold increases. What once felt hard becomes normal. The cost of emotional living. Living by feelings feels easy in the moment, but it creates long-term chaos. missed deadlines, broken promises, unstable habits, regret. Regret is delayed discomfort. Discipline is immediate discomfort. Choose your discomfort wisely. Either you suffer the pain of discipline now, or you suffer the pain of regret later. One builds strength. The other builds frustration. Discipline under pressure. Pressure exposes emotional weakness. When things become stressful, feelings intensify. Fear grows louder. Doubt becomes sharper. Fatigue feels heavier. This is where discipline separates individuals. Under pressure, the emotional person seeks escape. The disciplined person seeks structure. They return to fundamentals. They control breathing. They simplify the next step. They reduce focus to action. Not outcome. Not emotion. Action. Action creates momentum. Momentum reduces chaos. Detachment from mood. A powerful shift occurs when you detach action from mood. You stop asking how you feel before deciding what to do. You decide first. Then you let feelings adjust. Often, action improves mood. But waiting for mood delays action. Discipline reverses the order. Act first. Feel later. And over time, your emotional system aligns with your disciplined behavior. The transformation. When you consistently choose discipline over feelings, something changes internally. You stop being fragile. You become stable. You stop being reactive. You become intentional. You stop chasing motivation. You become self-directed. This transformation is not loud. It is subtle, but powerful. You begin to trust yourself deeply. And once you trust yourself, fear decreases. Because you know, no matter how you feel, you will act. Final reflection. Feelings are temporary. Standards are permanent. If you want control, build standards. If you want strength, build discipline. If you want consistency, detach from mood. There will be days you feel powerful. There will be days you feel weak. But your actions do not need to mirror your emotions. They need to reflect your identity. You are not your feelings. You are your decisions. Choose discipline. And over time, you will no longer be controlled by emotional waves. You will become the one steering the direction. Calm, steady, and in command. Chapter 4. Control your reactions. Your life is not controlled by what happens to you. It is controlled by how you respond. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, and one of the most powerful once mastered. Events are neutral. Someone criticizes you. A deal falls through. Traffic delays you. A person disrespects you. Plans collapse. These are events. The meaning and the outcome are created by your reaction. Most people live in reaction mode. They believe their anger is caused by others. They believe their stress is caused by circumstances. They believe their frustration is caused by inconvenience. But look deeper. Between the event and your reaction, there is a space. In that space lies your power. And the size of that space determines your level of control. The reaction loop. When something triggers you, your brain moves fast. Faster than logic. It interprets the event as threat, insult, or loss. Emotion rises instantly. Anger, fear, embarrassment, defensiveness. If untrained, you react automatically. Raise your voice. Send the message. Say the sharp words. Make the impulsive decision. And only later, when emotion settles, does clarity return. Regret often follows reaction. Why? Because reaction is survival mode. Response is leadership mode. Advanced emotional regulation begins with understanding this loop. Event, interpretation, emotion, action. Most people focus only on the event and action. But control lies in interpretation. Change interpretation, and you change emotion. Change emotion, and you change action. Step 1. Slow the body to control the mind. The body and mind are deeply connected. When emotion spikes, your body shows it. Breathing becomes shallow. Heart rate increases. Muscles tighten. Voice becomes sharp. If you try to control thoughts without stabilizing the body, it becomes difficult. So start with physiology. Slow your breathing deliberately. Inhale slowly through the nose. Hold briefly. Exhale longer than the inhale. This sends a signal to your nervous system. There is no immediate danger. Your body calms. Your mind follows. Then adjust posture. Relax your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Lower your tone. You are not pretending to be calm. You are training your nervous system to return to baseline quickly. This is not weakness. This is emotional discipline. Step 2. Interrupt the story. When something triggers you, your mind creates a story instantly. They don't respect me. This always happens. I'm being treated unfairly. This is a disaster. These stories fuel emotion. But ask yourself, is this fact or interpretation? Advanced emotional control requires separating reality from narrative. Reality: they disagreed with me. Story: they think I'm incompetent. Reality: the project failed. Story: I am a failure. The story intensifies emotion. Interrupt it. Replace it with neutral observation. What exactly happened? What evidence do I have? What assumptions am I making? This simple questioning weakens emotional exaggeration. Clarity reduces intensity. Step 3. Delay the reaction. Speed is the enemy of control. The faster you respond, the less disciplined it becomes. Create intentional delay. If you receive an upsetting message, do not reply immediately. If you feel anger rising, do not speak immediately. Silence is strength. Delay allows emotion to cool and logic to return. You do not lose power by waiting. You gain perspective. Often, what feels urgent in the moment becomes irrelevant after reflection. Time shrinks emotional intensity. Step 4. Choose the outcome, not the emotion. Instead of asking, "How do I feel right now?" "What outcome do I want?" This shifts focus from internal reaction to external result. If you react angrily, will it improve the situation? If you respond calmly, will it increase influence? Emotion asks for release. Strategy asks for results. You are not suppressing emotion. You are redirecting behavior. And that redirection is maturity. Ego, the hidden trigger. Many reactions are ego-based, not logical, not strategic. Ego reacts to perceived disrespect. Ego reacts to criticism. Ego reacts to being wrong. It wants to protect identity. But protecting ego often damages progress. The disciplined mind prioritizes growth over pride. When someone corrects you, ego wants to defend. But growth wants to listen. When someone challenges you, ego wants to dominate. But leadership wants to understand. Control your ego, and you reduce unnecessary conflict. Emotional endurance. Some situations are not momentary. They are prolonged stress. Difficult relationships. Financial pressure. Long-term uncertainty. In these cases, emotional regulation is not just about pausing. It is about endurance. You cannot allow ongoing stress to control your daily state. Create internal rituals. Daily reflection. Controlled breathing practice. Focused work sessions. Physical movement. These stabilize emotional baseline. If your baseline is stable, triggers have less impact. Think of emotional control like immune strength. A weak system overreacts to small threats. A strong system remains steady. The power of controlled speech. Your words reveal your state. Reactive speech is loud, fast, and defensive. Controlled speech is measured, concise, and intentional. Before speaking under pressure, ask, "Is this necessary? Is this helpful? Is this aligned with my standards?" Sometimes the strongest response is fewer words. Silence forces others to regulate themselves. And when you speak calmly while others escalate, contrast creates authority. Training through small triggers. Do not wait for major crises to practice control. Train daily through small irritations. Slow internet. Long lines. Minor disagreements. Instead of reacting, observe your impulse. Notice the urge to complain. And choose restraint. Small triggers are training grounds. Master them, and bigger ones become manageable. Each controlled response strengthens your mental muscle. Each emotional outburst weakens it. When you fail, you will not control every reaction perfectly. There will be moments you speak too quickly. Moments you act emotionally. Do not collapse into guilt. Reflect instead. What triggered me? What story did I tell myself? What could I do differently next time? Failure becomes data. Data becomes improvement. Improvement becomes mastery. The ultimate advantage. Imagine being in a room where everyone is emotional. Voices raised. Opinions clashing. Tension rising. Now imagine you remain calm, measured, observant, intentional. Who controls the room? Not the loudest, the most stable. Emotional control is silent dominance. It allows you to think when others cannot, to decide when others panic, to influence when others argue. This is advanced inner strength. Final reflection. You cannot control events, but you can control interpretation. You can control breathing. You can control tone. You can control timing. You can control action. And that is enough. When you master your reactions, you become unpredictable to chaos. Pressure no longer dictates your behavior. Emotion no longer overrides your standards. You become deliberate. And deliberate people shape outcomes. Control your reactions. And you control your direction. Chapter 5. Mental Endurance. Staying consistent when others quit. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they stop. They stop when progress feels slow. They stop when results are invisible. They stop when excitement fades. They stop when discomfort becomes repetitive. Starting is common. Enduring is rare. And in a world where most people quit early, mental endurance becomes a massive advantage. This chapter is about building the ability to continue, especially when nothing feels rewarding. The illusion of early excitement. At the beginning of any goal, energy is high. New routine, new plan, new discipline, new ambition. You feel focused, motivated, determined. But excitement is temporary. After a few days or weeks, reality appears. The work feels repetitive. The progress feels small. The reward feels distant. This is the phase where most people disappear. They interpret boredom as a sign they are not meant for it. They interpret difficulty as proof they are not talented enough. But this phase is not failure. It is filtering. It separates those who are emotionally driven from those who are mentally trained. Mental endurance begins when excitement ends. Understanding psychological fatigue. Mental fatigue is different from physical fatigue. Your body may still have energy, but your mind feels resistance. You think, what's the point? Is this even working? Maybe I should try something else. This is not physical exhaustion. It is delayed gratification discomfort. Your brain is wired for reward. When effort does not produce immediate visible results, your motivation system weakens. This is natural. But natural does not mean you surrender. The disciplined mind understands something powerful. Results often lag behind effort. There is always a delay between work and reward, and those who can tolerate that delay win long-term. The plateau, where most quit. Progress is rarely linear. In the beginning, improvement feels rapid. Then comes the plateau. You work hard, but growth slows. Numbers stall. Skills feel stuck. This is where doubt becomes loud. You start questioning your ability. You start comparing yourself to others. You start searching for shortcuts. But the plateau is not stagnation. It is consolidation. Your brain is integrating skills. Your habits are stabilizing. Your foundation is strengthening. It may not feel dramatic, but it is essential. Mental endurance means trusting the process even when visible evidence is minimal. Emotional waves are predictable. Every long-term pursuit includes emotional cycles. High motivation, then low motivation, then renewed focus, then doubt. These cycles are normal. The mistake is believing low emotion means wrong direction. Instead of reacting to emotional dips, anticipate them. Tell yourself, there will be days I do not feel strong, and I will act anyway. This expectation reduces surprise. When low energy arrives, you do not panic. You continue at a controlled pace. Endurance is not about intensity. It is about consistency through fluctuation. Shrinking the focus. When tasks feel overwhelming, endurance weakens. The mind becomes discouraged by scale. I have so far to go. This will take years. Large goals create psychological pressure. To build endurance, shrink the focus. Instead of thinking about the entire journey, focus on the next action. One page, one workout, one conversation, one task. Completion builds momentum. Momentum builds belief. Belief strengthens endurance. Massive goals are achieved through controlled repetition of small steps. Identity of the finisher. Endurance is identity-based. If you see yourself as someone who quits when tired, you will. If you see yourself as someone who always completes what they start, you will. Choose your identity carefully. Repeat internally. I am someone who finishes. This is not positive thinking. It is identity conditioning. Every time you continue despite discomfort, you reinforce that identity. Every time you quit, you weaken it. Your mind collects evidence. Feed it wisely. Pain versus harm. There is a difference between discomfort and damage. Mental endurance requires tolerating discomfort. Boredom is discomfort. Slow progress is discomfort. Repetition is discomfort. But discomfort is not danger. Your brain often interprets effort as threat. It signals you to stop. But unless there is actual harm, pushing through builds capacity. Think of endurance like expanding a container. At first, your tolerance for discomfort is small. With practice, it expands. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Long-term vision as fuel. Endurance strengthens when purpose is clear. If you do not know why you are working, quitting becomes easier. Define clearly. Who are you becoming through this process? What long-term transformation are you building? What standards are you proving to yourself? When the why is strong, temporary emotion weakens. You are not just completing tasks. You are building character. And character outlasts motivation. Remove drama from the process. One reason people burn out is emotional dramatization. They exaggerate difficulty. This is impossible. This is too much. This never works. Drama amplifies fatigue. Neutral thinking reduces it. Instead of saying, "This is exhausting," say, "This is repetitive. Continue." Instead of, "This is taking forever," say, "This requires patience." Language shapes perception. Perception shapes endurance. Keep your internal dialogue steady and factual. Rest is strategic, not emotional. Mental endurance does not mean constant overexertion. It means strategic recovery. Rest because it improves performance, not because you feel weak. Recovery should be planned, not reactive. Scheduled breaks. Structured downtime. Sleep discipline. This keeps your system stable. Exhaustion from chaos weakens endurance. Structured recovery strengthens it. The compound power of not quitting. Most breakthroughs happen after most people leave. The business grows after years of consistency. The body transforms after months of routine. The skill sharpens after repeated practice. But because many quit early, the field becomes less crowded over time. Simply staying consistent already separates you. Not because you are superior, but because you endure. Endurance is quiet advantage. It is not dramatic. It is steady. And steady outlasts intense bursts. When you want to quit, there will be moments when quitting feels logical. You will rationalize it. It's not worth it. I've done enough. I can restart later. In those moments, do not make permanent decisions based on temporary emotion. Delay quitting. Tell yourself, continue today. Decide tomorrow. Often, tomorrow brings clarity, and the urge weakens. Endurance is sometimes as simple as extending effort one more day. Then another. Then another. The psychological shift. At some point, endurance changes you. You stop fearing difficulty. You expect it. You stop seeking constant excitement. You value stability. You stop chasing immediate reward. You trust delayed results. This shift transforms your mental architecture. You become dangerous in the best way, because you cannot be easily discouraged. And a person who cannot be easily discouraged cannot be easily defeated. Chapter 6: Emotional Control in Chaos. How to stay sharp when everything falls apart. Chaos does not send a warning. It arrives suddenly. Plans collapse. People disappoint you. Money shifts. Opportunities disappear. Unexpected problems appear all at once. And in those moments, your true level of training is revealed. Anyone can appear disciplined when conditions are stable. But when everything falls apart, that is where identity is tested. Chaos does not build character. It exposes it. The question is simple. When pressure rises, do you lose control? Or do you become sharper? The first rule: stabilize yourself before solving anything. When chaos hits, most people try to fix the situation immediately. They move fast. They talk fast. They think fast. But speed without clarity creates damage. The first priority is not solving the external problem. It is stabilizing your internal state. Because if your mind is unstable, your decisions will be unstable. Pause. Slow your breathing deliberately. Lower your shoulders. Relax your jaw. Slow your speech. You are signaling to your nervous system, I am not in danger. I am in control. This prevents panic from hijacking logic. Stability first. Strategy second. Chaos shrinks thinking, unless you expand it. Under stress, the brain narrows focus. It exaggerates threat. It imagines worst-case outcomes. It becomes reactive. This is survival wiring. But modern chaos is rarely life-threatening. It is psychological pressure. If you allow your mind to narrow, you will overreact, blame, rush decisions, damage relationships. Instead, expand perspective intentionally. What is actually happening? What part of this is within my control? What is the worst realistic outcome? What is the next intelligent step? Questions expand thinking. Expansion reduces panic. Separate emotion from action. You are allowed to feel stress. You are not allowed to let stress decide. This is the discipline. Emotion is natural. Reaction is optional. When everything feels overwhelming, say internally, I can feel this without becoming this. You can feel fear without acting fearfully. You can feel frustration without speaking aggressively. You can feel pressure without collapsing. Emotion is energy, but you choose direction. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. When people panic, they rush. But rushing creates mistakes. Mistakes create more chaos. The calm individual moves deliberately, not slow from weakness, but controlled from strength. In chaotic moments, simplify tasks. Reduce noise. Eliminate unnecessary decisions. Focus only on the essential. One decision at a time. One action at a time. Clarity grows when complexity is reduced. Control the internal dialogue. Chaos amplifies negative self-talk. This is a disaster. I can't handle this. Everything is going wrong. These thoughts intensify emotional overload. Your internal language shapes your state. Replace exaggeration with precision. Instead of, "This is falling apart," say, "This is difficult. It requires focus." Instead of, "I can't manage this," say, "This will require structured action." Language does not change reality, but it changes your relationship with it, and that changes performance. The discipline of neutral observation. Advanced emotional control involves observation without judgment. Instead of labeling situations as unfair, catastrophic, or personal, observe them clinically. This client withdrew. This plan failed. This variable changed. Neutral language reduces emotional charge. Emotion feeds on interpretation. When you remove dramatic interpretation, you weaken emotional intensity. You become analytical instead of reactive. This is leadership under stress. Energy protection during chaos. Chaos drains energy rapidly. Worry. Overthinking. Replaying conversations. Imagining worst-case scenarios. These consume mental bandwidth. But not all problems require constant thinking. Protect your energy. Set boundaries around rumination. Decide specific times to plan solutions. Outside those windows, redirect focus to productive action. You cannot think clearly when mentally exhausted. Conserve cognitive resources. Emotional containment in public. When things collapse, others look for cues. If you panic, they panic. If you stay steady, they stabilize. Your emotional control influences environments. In leadership, family, business, or friendships. Your composure sets tone. This does not mean hiding difficulty. It means containing emotional volatility. You can say, "This is challenging. We will handle it." Calm communication builds collective strength. Emotional outbursts create collective fear. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Do not absorb chaos. Regulate it. The 24-hour rule. When chaos involves major decisions, never decide at peak emotion. Delay. Allow 24 hours when possible. Emotion fades. Clarity improves. Impulsivity decreases. Many long-term regrets are made in short-term emotional spikes. Time is a stabilizer. Use it. Building chaos tolerance in advance. Emotional control in chaos is built before chaos. You train it daily. Cold exposure to discomfort. Structured routines. Voluntary discipline. Difficult conversations handled calmly. These strengthen your nervous system. If your life is too comfortable, chaos feels catastrophic. If you regularly challenge yourself, chaos feels manageable. Controlled discomfort increases stress tolerance. And stress tolerance increases performance under pressure. Focus on influence, not control. In chaotic situations, some elements are uncontrollable. Trying to control everything creates frustration. Instead, categorize. What can I directly control? What can I influence? What must I accept? Focus energy on the first two. Release the third. Acceptance is not weakness. It is strategic clarity. Energy wasted on uncontrollable variables weakens resilience. Identity in the storm. In chaos, ask, who do I choose to be right now? Reactive or deliberate? Emotional or strategic? Scattered or focused? Identity drives behavior. Choose consciously. You may not control the storm, but you control your posture within it. And posture determines outcome. After the storm, When chaos passes, reflect. What triggered you most? Where did you stay steady? Where did emotion spike? What worked? What failed? Reflection converts experience into training. Without reflection, chaos is trauma. With reflection, chaos is education. Each storm should strengthen you, not weaken you. Final reflection. Chaos is not optional. It will arrive. Unexpected. Uninvited. But it does not need to dominate you. Stabilize first. Think clearly. Speak deliberately. Act strategically. While others lose composure, you gain advantage. While others rush, you calculate. While others react, you respond. Emotional control in chaos is not dramatic. It is quiet strength. And quiet strength outperforms noise every time. Stay sharp when everything falls apart. Because the one who remains steady in the storm becomes unshakable in life. Chapter 7. Detachment from immediate pleasure, mastering impulse control in a distracted world. We live in a world engineered to weaken your discipline. Everything is immediate. Entertainment on demand. Food delivered instantly. Validation through likes and comments. Endless scrolling. Constant stimulation. Your brain is under attack. Not physically, but neurologically. Every notification. Every short video. Every impulse purchase. They all activate the same reward system. Quick pleasure. Fast dopamine. Immediate gratification. And the more you feed that system, the weaker your impulse control becomes. This chapter is about reclaiming control over your urges. Because if you cannot control impulses, you cannot control direction. The nature of impulse. An impulse is a sudden urge to act. It feels urgent. It feels important. It feels justified. But impulses are rarely aligned with long-term goals. They are aligned with immediate comfort. Your brain evolved to prioritize survival and reward. In ancient times, quick reward meant survival. Today, quick reward often means distraction. The problem is not pleasure. The problem is dependency on instant pleasure. When your brain becomes addicted to quick stimulation, patience decreases. Focus weakens. Discomfort tolerance shrinks. Long-term discipline collapses. Impulse control is not about eliminating pleasure. It is about mastering timing. The dopamine trap. Every time you give in to an unnecessary impulse, your brain learns something. It learns. Discomfort leads to distraction. Boredom leads to scrolling. Stress leads to escape. This creates a loop. You feel slight discomfort. You seek quick reward. Relief arrives. The pattern strengthens. Over time, your tolerance for discomfort drops dramatically. You become restless when nothing is stimulating you. Silence feels uncomfortable. Focus feels difficult. Patience feels impossible. This is not weakness. It is conditioning. And conditioning can be reversed. Delay is power. The simplest way to strengthen impulse control is delay. Not suppression. Delay. When you feel the urge to check your phone, wait 5 minutes. When you crave distraction, finish one small task first. When you want to quit, extend effort slightly longer. Impulse loses power when it is not immediately obeyed. The brain learns. Urge does not equal action. This separation is critical. You begin to see urges as waves. They rise. They peak. They fall. If you act instantly, the wave controls you. If you observe without acting, you control the wave. Training the discomfort muscle. Impulse control is directly tied to discomfort tolerance. If you cannot tolerate boredom, you will seek distraction. If you cannot tolerate stress, you will seek escape. If you cannot tolerate delay, you will seek shortcuts. So train discomfort intentionally. Work without music sometimes. Sit without checking your phone. Complete tasks without switching apps. Eat without constant entertainment. These small acts rebuild focus stamina. They rewire your reward system. You begin to enjoy progress more than stimulation. The discipline of environment design. Willpower alone is unreliable. Environment shapes behavior. If your phone is beside you, you will check it more. If junk food is visible, you will crave it more. If distractions are accessible, focus becomes harder. Design your environment to reduce temptation. Keep your phone out of reach while working. Remove unnecessary apps. Create clear workspaces. Schedule focused sessions. Make discipline easier by making distraction harder. Control surroundings to protect mental clarity. The illusion of just this once. Impulse often disguises itself with logic. Just this once. 5 minutes won't matter. I deserve a break. These statements feel harmless. But repeated just once, decisions create habits. Habits shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. One impulsive decision is not dangerous. A pattern of impulsive decisions is. When you feel the just once voice, pause. Is this aligned with who I am becoming? Identity-based thinking strengthens discipline. Replace, don't just remove. If you remove pleasure without replacing it, the mind rebels. Instead of mindless scrolling, read something intentional. Instead of junk stimulation, pursue meaningful progress. Instead of escaping stress, confront it productively. You are not meant to eliminate reward. You are meant to elevate it. Train your brain to associate satisfaction with effort. The pride of finishing a task. The clarity after focused work. The confidence after resisting temptation. These are deeper rewards. Longer-lasting rewards. Emotional impulses. Impulse is not only physical. It is emotional. The urge to respond angrily. The urge to defend ego. The urge to interrupt. The urge to prove yourself. Emotional impulses are more dangerous than physical ones because they damage relationships and reputation. Practice emotional delay. When triggered, breathe before speaking. When criticized, listen fully before responding. When frustrated, pause before reacting. Impulse control in emotion builds long-term authority. The power of boredom. Boredom is not the enemy. It is training. When you allow yourself to be bored without reaching for stimulation, something powerful happens. Your mind settles. Your creativity increases. Your focus deepens. Constant stimulation fragments attention. Silence rebuilds it. Spend intentional time without input. No music. No scrolling. No multitasking. This strengthens concentration endurance. Long-term compounding. Every act of impulse control compounds. You save time. You protect energy. You increase focus. You strengthen identity. Over months and years, the difference becomes dramatic. The person who controls impulses builds stronger habits, clearer thinking, greater productivity, deeper self-trust. The person who lives by impulse builds instability. Both start similarly. Only one trains restraint. The identity shift. Eventually, impulse control becomes natural. You stop fighting urges constantly because your brain adapts to higher standards. You begin to enjoy discipline. You take pride in self-control. You feel stronger saying no than saying yes to distraction. This is maturity. Not forced, not rigid, but intentional. You are no longer controlled by environment. You choose direction consciously. Final reflection. Immediate pleasure is easy. Long-term mastery is rare. Every day, you face small decisions. Scroll or focus. React or pause. Quit or continue. Comfort or growth. These decisions seem small, but they shape who you become. Impulse says, now. Discipline says, later. Choose later often enough, and your life transforms. Detachment from immediate pleasure is not about denying joy. It is about protecting your future self. Master your impulses. and you master your trajectory. Chapter 8. Building Daily Mental Training Systems: How to Create Unbreakable Routines. Motivation fades. Willpower fluctuates. But systems remain. If you rely on emotion to stay consistent, you will always struggle. If you rely on structure, you remove uncertainty. This chapter is not about intensity. It is about architecture. Because mental strength is not built in rare heroic moments. It is built in ordinary, repeated structure. Your routine either strengthens you or weakens you. There is no neutral day. The power of automation. Every decision consumes energy. What to do first. When to start. How long to work. When to rest. If you constantly negotiate with yourself, you drain mental resources. Strong individuals reduce decision fatigue through routine. When behavior becomes automatic, resistance decreases. You do not wake up and debate whether to brush your teeth. You just do it. That level of automation is what you want for discipline. The goal is not to force yourself daily. It is to design systems so strong that discipline becomes default. Start with anchors. An unbreakable routine begins with anchors. Anchors are fixed actions that never change. Wake up time. Morning ritual. Work start time. Workout window. Reflection period before sleep. These anchors create structure around your day. Even if chaos interrupts some tasks, anchors stabilize direction. Choose 2 or 3 non-negotiable anchors to begin. Not 10. Not 20. Start small and solid. Consistency matters more than complexity. The morning. Set the tone. How you start the day shapes mental posture. If you wake up and immediately check your phone, you surrender attention. If you wake up and begin intentionally, you build authority. Your first hour should be protected. No chaos. No reactive scrolling. No external noise. Instead, breathing, planning, reading, training, quiet focus. This signals to your brain. I control this day. Morning discipline compounds confidence. Time blocking. Eliminate guesswork. Unstructured time invites distraction. When you work whenever, you work inconsistently. Instead, assign time blocks. Specific windows for focused work. Specific windows for recovery. Specific windows for planning. During a focus block, eliminate distractions. Phone away. Notifications off. Single task only. When you give your mind one clear direction, productivity increases. Clarity reduces resistance. Make it measurable. What gets measured gets improved. Track your habits. Not obsessively, but clearly. Did you complete your focus session? Did you train today? Did you follow your routine? Visible tracking reinforces identity. Each check mark becomes evidence. I am consistent. Consistency builds belief. Belief strengthens discipline. Reduce friction. If a routine feels heavy, simplify it. Friction destroys consistency. If your workout requires complex preparation, you will skip it. If your work setup is cluttered, you will procrastinate. Design for ease. Prepare clothes the night before. Organize workspace. Plan tasks ahead of time. Remove excuses before they appear. Make discipline the easier option. The 2-minute rule. When resistance is high, shrink the entry point. Tell yourself, just start for 2 minutes. Most of the battle is beginning. Once started, momentum builds. The brain resists uncertainty. Starting reduces uncertainty. Small beginnings prevent overwhelming emotions. Consistency does not require massive effort. It requires daily entry. Protect your evenings. Many routines collapse at night. Energy decreases. Impulse increases. Structure fades. But evenings are critical. Use them to reset. Light reflection. What went well today? What needs improvement? What is tomorrow's priority? Prepare for the next day. Set clothes. Outline tasks. Clear workspace. Evening discipline strengthens morning clarity. And clarity reduces friction. Build recovery into structure. Mental training is not constant grind. Recovery must be scheduled. Sleep is non-negotiable. Physical movement clears mental tension. Silence restores focus. If you ignore recovery, your routine becomes unsustainable. Burnout destroys structure. Balance intensity with restoration. Strong systems include rest deliberately. Expect resistance. Even the best routine will face resistance. You will wake up tired. You will feel uninspired. You will want to skip. Do not interpret resistance as failure. It is normal. Your system exists to function despite mood. When resistance appears, simplify, but do not quit. Reduce intensity if necessary, but maintain continuity. Continuity protects identity. Guard your identity. Routines are not about tasks. They are about identity. Each day you follow structure, you reinforce. I am disciplined. I am consistent. I finish what I start. If you break routine occasionally, do not spiral. Reset immediately. Never miss twice. One missed day is an event. 2 missed days is a pattern. Protect your pattern. Remove emotional attachment. Do not dramatize routine. It is not heroic. It is not glamorous. It is repetition. Treat it neutrally. You do not need to feel excited about structure. You need to respect it. Over time, routine becomes comfortable. And comfort with discipline is powerful. Systems create freedom. Many people resist structure because they associate it with restriction. But structure creates freedom. When your habits are strong, you do not stress about productivity. You do not panic about deadlines. You do not rely on last-minute effort. You operate from stability. Stability reduces anxiety. Freedom is not the absence of structure. It is mastery within structure. The compounding effect. Small daily systems compound massively. 1 focused hour daily becomes 365 hours yearly. 1 disciplined morning daily becomes identity transformation. 1 consistent habit reshapes self-image. Over years, routine builds reputation. Reliable, stable, focused. While others rely on bursts of motivation, you rely on structure. And structure wins long-term. Final reflection. Do not chase intensity. Build systems. Do not chase motivation. Build routine. Do not chase inspiration. Build identity. Unbreakable routines are not dramatic. They are quiet agreements with yourself. Daily. Repeated. Protected. Your future is hidden inside your structure. Design it carefully. Execute it consistently. And over time, discipline will no longer feel forced. It will feel natural. And when discipline feels natural, you become unstoppable. Chapter 9. Consistency beats intensity. Why small daily wins outperform massive effort. Most people love intensity. They love the feeling of starting strong. They love the emotional rush of, "This is my new beginning." They love dramatic declarations, long work sessions, extreme discipline for a few days. But intensity is seductive. Consistency is powerful. And power always beats drama. This chapter is about building a mind that values repetition over excitement, stability over spikes, and discipline over emotional surges. Because the truth is simple. The person who shows up daily at 70% effort will always outperform the person who shows up at 120% effort occasionally. The myth of motivation-based success. We are taught to wait for inspiration. Wait until you feel ready. Wait until you feel energized. Wait until you feel confident. But feelings fluctuate. Energy fluctuates. Confidence fluctuates. Mood fluctuates. If your effort depends on emotion, your results will be unstable. High 1 week, low the next. This is why so many people quit. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack rhythm. Consistency creates rhythm. Rhythm creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Your brain loves predictability. When you repeat an action daily, neural pathways strengthen. Behavior becomes automatic. Resistance decreases. Intensity requires willpower. Consistency builds identity. And identity is permanent. Small wins rewire the brain. When you complete a small task daily, your brain releases dopamine, not just from reward, but from progress. Progress is addictive. If you read 10 pages a day, exercise 20 minutes a day, practice a skill 30 minutes a day, you may not feel dramatic change immediately, but small daily actions compound. One workout changes nothing. 1 week changes little. 1 year changes everything. Think about it psychologically. When you complete a task daily, your brain receives evidence. I am disciplined. I keep promises. I follow through. Over time, this evidence builds self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of mental strength. Intensity gives you adrenaline. Consistency gives you confidence. Adrenaline fades. Confidence compounds. Why intensity fails most people? Intensity often comes from emotion, anger, inspiration, fear, comparison. Emotion spikes effort temporarily, but emotional energy is unstable. You cannot stay angry forever. You cannot stay inspired forever. You cannot stay afraid forever. Eventually, your system crashes. Burnout happens when intensity is not supported by structure. Consistency, on the other hand, does not rely on emotion. It relies on systems. If you have a fixed time to train, you train. If you have a fixed time to study, you study. If you have a fixed time to think, you think. No drama. No negotiation. Consistency removes internal debate. And mental energy is preserved when debate disappears. The psychology of daily repetition. Repetition does 3 powerful things. Reduces resistance. Increases skill. Strengthens identity. The first few days of a habit feel difficult. But after repetition, friction decreases. The brain shifts from conscious effort to automatic behavior. Neural efficiency increases. The action feels natural. This is how elite performers operate. Not through bursts. Through rituals. Professional athletes do not train intensely only when motivated. They train because training time exists. Elite musicians do not practice only when inspired. They practice because practice time exists. High-level performers in business, sport, or leadership win because they treat effort like hygiene. You don't brush your teeth intensely once a week. You brush daily. That is the mindset shift. Discipline is daily hygiene for the mind. Compounding. The invisible advantage. Consistency leverages a principle that most people underestimate. Compounding. In finance, small investments grow over time through compound interest. The same applies to skills and habits. If you improve 1% daily, that 1% compounds. But compounding requires uninterrupted repetition. If you train hard for 10 days, quit for 20 days, restart again, stop again, you reset the compounding cycle repeatedly. Consistency allows accumulation. And accumulation leads to dominance. People who look naturally talented often just accumulated more repetitions, more practice, more attempts, more learning cycles. Intensity chases visible results. Consistency builds invisible foundation. And foundation determines longevity. The mental discipline of showing up. Consistency is less glamorous. It requires showing up when you are tired, you are bored, you are distracted, you feel average. This is where mental training matters. Because the real battle is not physical. It is psychological resistance. The voice that says, skip today. You deserve a break. It won't matter. Consistency means you act anyway. Not aggressively. Not dramatically. Just steadily. Steady effort is difficult because it lacks excitement. But mental strength is built in monotony. Anyone can work hard when emotional. Few can work calmly when neutral. And that calm repetition builds endurance. The identity shift. From performer to practitioner. Intensity often comes from wanting to prove something. Consistency comes from wanting to practice something. There is a difference. The performer wants results fast. The practitioner wants mastery over time. When you shift from outcome focus to practice focus, pressure decreases. You stop asking, "Is this working yet?" And you start asking, "Did I show up today?" Daily attendance matters more than daily perfection. Perfection creates anxiety. Attendance builds momentum. You don't need perfect days. You need consistent days. Managing low-energy days. Consistency does not mean extreme effort every day. It means minimum standard daily. Set a non-negotiable baseline. Minimum 15 minutes. Minimum 10 pages. Minimum 1 workout set. Minimum 1 focused hour. Even on your worst day, you complete the baseline. This prevents identity damage. If you skip entirely, your brain records. I break promises. If you do the minimum, your brain records. I follow through. Over time, that difference becomes enormous. Consistency is not about maximum output. It is about 0 days without effort. Emotional neutrality in work. One of the highest levels of mental training is emotional neutrality. You do not need to feel great. You do not need to feel terrible. You simply work. Focused. Measured. This is psychological maturity. When emotion stops dictating effort, you become stable. Stability produces predictable output. Predictable output produces results. This is why calm, disciplined individuals often outperform highly emotional ones. They conserve energy. They avoid burnout. They avoid dramatic cycles. They stay steady. And steady wins. The long-term advantage. Imagine 2 individuals over 5 years. Person A works extremely hard for 3 months. Quits for 2 months. Repeats cycle. Person B works moderately hard every day. Rarely misses. Never burns out. After 5 years, the gap is massive. Skill gap. Confidence gap. Reputation gap. Consistency builds reputation internally and externally. Internally, you trust yourself. Externally, others trust your reliability. Reliability is power. Unpredictability creates doubt. When you become known, even to yourself, as someone who shows up daily, your identity changes. You stop chasing breakthroughs. You build them. Chapter 10. The Trained Mind. Becoming unshakable in any situation. This is where everything comes together. Discipline. Emotional control. Consistency. Endurance. All of it has been preparation. Because the ultimate goal of mental training is not just productivity. It is stability. It is becoming the kind of person who does not collapse under pressure. The kind of person who does not lose control when challenged. The kind of person who does not abandon principles when emotions rise. This chapter is about becoming unshakable. Not emotionless. Not robotic. Unshakable. There is a difference. What does unshakable really mean? Being unshakable does not mean you never feel fear. It means fear does not control your decisions. It does not mean you never feel anger. It means anger does not control your actions. It does not mean life becomes easy. It means difficulty does not destabilize your identity. An unshakable mind has 3 characteristics: emotional stability, cognitive clarity, behavioral discipline. When chaos appears, most people react. The trained mind observes first. That pause, that small space between stimulus and response, is power. In that space, you choose. And the ability to choose instead of react is the highest level of mental strength. Pressure reveals mental weakness. Anyone can stay calm when life is smooth. The real test is disruption, unexpected failure, public criticism, financial stress, relationship conflict, health scares. These moments expose mental conditioning. If your training has been shallow, emotion will dominate. If your training has been deep, structure will dominate. Structure always beats emotion under pressure. That structure comes from repetition, daily discipline, controlled reactions, emotional regulation practice, consistent habits. You do not rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your training. So the question is simple. Have you trained for discomfort? The identity of the trained mind. Most people define themselves by outcomes. I am successful. I am failing. I am winning. I am losing. The trained mind defines itself by behavior. I stay calm. I stay disciplined. I stay consistent. Outcomes fluctuate. Behavior can be controlled. When your identity is tied to controlled behavior, external instability cannot break you. You may lose money. You may lose status. You may lose opportunities. But you do not lose yourself. That is unshakable. Emotional immunity. Think of emotional strength like physical immunity. If your immune system is weak, small infections overwhelm you. If your emotional system is weak, small problems destabilize you. Traffic ruins your mood. One insult ruins your confidence. One setback ruins your motivation. But emotional immunity is built through exposure. You do difficult things voluntarily. Cold showers, hard workouts, difficult conversations, focused work without distraction. Each controlled discomfort strengthens tolerance. Over time, your threshold increases. Things that once overwhelmed you become manageable. Not because life became easier, because you became stronger. The art of non-reactivity. One of the highest levels of mental mastery is non-reactivity, not suppression, not avoidance. Observation without immediate emotional action. When something triggers you, pause. Notice the physical response. Notice the thought pattern. Label it internally. This is anger. This is fear. This is ego. Labeling creates distance. Distance reduces intensity. From that calmer state, you choose behavior based on values, not emotion. This is advanced mental training. It requires awareness. But once developed, it changes everything. People cannot manipulate you easily. Circumstances cannot provoke you easily. You become harder to destabilize. Stability in success. Mental strength is not only tested in failure. It is tested in success. Success can create ego. Ego creates carelessness. Carelessness destroys consistency. The trained mind remains disciplined even when winning. It avoids arrogance. It avoids complacency. It maintains routine. It respects fundamentals. Because the trained mind understands. Success is temporary without structure. Calm in failure is strength. Calm in success is wisdom. Decision-making under stress. Stress reduces cognitive clarity. When emotional intensity rises, logical thinking decreases. Unless trained. The trained mind uses a system during stress. Slow breathing. Deliberate pause. Focus on facts, not assumptions. Choose smallest effective action. This prevents escalation. Instead of dramatic reaction, you take measured steps. Instead of catastrophic thinking, you analyze objectively. This protects energy. Energy saved is power preserved. Long-term thinking. An unshakable mind thinks long-term. Most emotional reactions come from short-term focus. Embarrassment feels permanent. Failure feels permanent. Criticism feels permanent. But nothing is permanent. When you zoom out, 5 years, 10 years, today's problem shrinks. Long-term thinking stabilizes emotion. You stop reacting as if every setback defines you. You see it as data. Data is neutral. Emotion is optional. This perspective reduces panic. And panic is the enemy of clarity. The discipline of self-control. Self-control is the visible result of internal order. If your mind is chaotic, your actions will be chaotic. If your thoughts are structured, your behavior will be structured. This is why daily mental hygiene matters. Journaling, reflection, controlled routines, physical discipline. Order outside supports order inside. An organized environment reduces cognitive overload. A structured day reduces impulsive behavior. Everything connects. Mental strength is holistic. The silent confidence. The trained mind develops quiet confidence. Not loud. Not performative. Stable. You no longer need external validation constantly. You do not chase approval. You do not crumble under criticism. Because you know your standards. And your standards are internal. This is psychological independence. And psychological independence is freedom. When your emotional state is no longer controlled by others, you are powerful. When everything falls apart, there will be moments when everything seems to collapse. Plans fail. People leave. Systems break. In those moments, your mind becomes your only asset. If it panics, everything worsens. If it stays stable, solutions appear. The trained mind asks, "What is in my control right now?" Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Right now. Focus narrows to actionable steps. This prevents overwhelm. Overwhelm is often the result of thinking about too many variables at once. Clarity comes from reduction. The final level, self-command. Self-command means your impulses do not rule you. Your mood does not dictate your work. Your fear does not dictate your choices. You choose based on principle. Principle over emotion. Structure over chaos. Long-term over short-term. This level of control is rare, because it requires daily practice. Not once. Not occasionally. Daily. The unshakable mind is not born. It is trained. The lifetime practice. Mental strength is not a 30-day challenge. It is a lifetime discipline. There is no finish line. Only refinement. Every year, pressure increases. Responsibility increases. Complexity increases. So training must continue. Calm must be maintained. Discipline must be protected. Consistency must be defended. This is the price of stability. And stability is priceless. Closing truth. You do not control the world. You do not control other people. You do not control every outcome. But you control your preparation. You control your reactions. You control your discipline. When you master those, you become difficult to break. Not because life is gentle, but because you are grounded. A trained mind is the ultimate advantage. It does not panic. It does not rush. It does not collapse. It observes. It chooses. It acts. And it repeats this process every single day. That is how you become unshakable. Not loud. Not dramatic. Stable. And in a chaotic world, stability is power.